What's up, everybody? Merry Christmas from C4C Apologetics, from mi casa to su casa. I hope today that you're focusing on celebrating the reason why we celebrate Christmas. And it's not because of all the all the presents under the tree that we're opening, or the family get-togethers, or anything like that. But it's a day, once a year, we can reflect on the incarnation of Christ, the fact that God, Emmanuel, took on flesh, lived the life we couldn't live, died the death we deserve to die, so that you and I could find salvation in the death, burial, resurrection of Jesus Christ 2,000 plus years ago. So I hope and pray that you're celebrating that birth, that moment today. Like the video description says, I want to go ahead and show 3 common misconceptions that we all had growing up, or even still to today, of the Christmas story. I want to just jump right in real quick, make this short so you can spend time back with your families and everything. But the first one I want to talk about is, when was Jesus Christ born? Was Jesus Christ born December 25th, 2,000 plus years ago? Or was it another month? Does Scripture even say? I believe God gives us a little hint, some details in the book of Luke. If you were to look in Luke chapter 1, verse 26 and 27, we're going to find out that it's in the 6th month that the angel Gabriel was sent from God to a city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph. We're told here in the first chapter of the book of Luke that Gabriel was sent to Mary on the 6th month. So what is the 6th month? We can look at the 6th month, one of 3 different time periods. It could have been the month of June. January, February, March, April, May, June. I don't think that's the case, because this being a Hebrew book and Luke being a Roman author, I believe this is not the whole Western mindset of the month of June or anything like that. This could be one of 2 things. Number 1, it could have been the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy. Remember, Zacharias and Elizabeth, they were going to have John the Baptist. And while Zacharias was in the temple doing the altar of incense, that the angel Gabriel came to him and said that he's going to have a child by the name of John. He's going to be the herald, the forerunner, the Messiah. Then it becomes mute, and then months later, they have John the Baptist, exactly as prophesied and foretold. Many people ascribe the fact that Zacharias was, because he was part of the priest of Abia, that it was his turn to go ahead and do the altar of incense, as we're told in the 1st chapter of Luke. That happened during the Hebrew month of Sivan. The Hebrew month of Sivan would have been when his priestly tribe would have been had their moment, their opportunity to do these priestly work, service, if you will. In the month of Sivan was shortly after Pentecost, which would have been roughly about May or June our time, May or June of our time. And if the 6th month talked about in Luke chapter 1 was the Hebrew month of Sivan, then if Mary went full term with Jesus for 9 months, that would have put his birth around February or March of the following year. So we're looking around an early spring, a late winter birth of Messiah off that 6th month idea, and that's possible. Or the other possibility is it could have been the 6th Hebrew month. The 6th Hebrew month would have been Elul, E-L-U-L. And this translated to the August-September time frame of our calendar. And if this is what Luke meant when he said in the 6th month the angel Gabriel came, then again, if Mary went full term from that time period of August to September, Mary would have had Jesus Christ May or June of our calendar. And so again, this would have been a late spring, possibly an early summer birth. So the first misconception is, was Jesus Christ born on December 25th? I don't believe so. I believe it would have been in that spring time period based off one of these 2 6 months, whether it was Elul or Sivan. Yes, you could probably hear my dogs. They're happy because it's Christmas as well. And so I believe it's one of those 2 possibilities, Sivan or the month of Elul. Does it even matter? No, it doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that Jesus Christ took on flesh and lived that life and died the prophesied death to be that Passover lamb for you and I. Just taking one day out of the year to celebrate it is an amazing thing to reflect on the fact that how many gods do you know left their throne to die a torturous death for the people they created? That's the love of God for you and for me. The second misconception that we have is the wise men. Many people believe that the wise men was in the manger, and this is a common misconception that you may already know about, that the wise men were in the manger, and we've had to change our nativity scene a few different times because of this fact. We're told, actually, if you were to look in Matthew chapter 2, let me get there real quick, Matthew chapter 2, and then we got in verse 1, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, go down to verse 8. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search for the young child. And in verse 11, when they were come into the house, they saw the young child. And then they gave the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And so many people believe that the wise men were in the manger with Jesus and Joseph and Mary and the shepherds and the sheep and the goats and you know the nativity scene. But it was probably around 2 years later when the wise men actually showed up. And we can see this too with Herod's edict trying to kill all the children 2 years old and under in verse 16 of Matthew chapter 2. And so you also got to remember when it says that the wise men came from the east, it's most likely referring to the modern day Iraq, Iran period area. You would have had Babylon in Assyria, Nineveh, Persia, out in that area. And this is most likely where those wise men came from. Remember, they were astrologers. They studied the stars, the constellations, the planets, and everything else. And they saw a star, they saw that sign, and they referenced it back to Isaiah chapter 60. And they said, the Messiah was born. We got to follow this star and this and that. So they probably came from Babylon, Persia area. And that would have been 500 to about 1,000 miles away from Jerusalem. And so they would have been trekking for quite some time. So the second misconception is the wise men weren't at the manger. They were there, again, in the house of Joseph and Mary, and they saw Jesus as a young child, not as a babe wrapped in swaddling clothes. And so it doesn't matter, but if we want to be biblical, that's what it is. The wise men would have been later from Babylon or Persia area, 500 to 1,000 miles coming over. The third and final misconception is something that I found kind of interesting, and I didn't really think about until I read about it and whatnot. But many times we'll see the manger scenes, and we'll see the star over the manger scene, right? But the star was never a sign during that manger period. Remember, if you were to go to the book of Luke, we're going to go to the book of Luke in chapter 2, and then verse 12. It says, this will be a sign unto you. You will find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. When the angels came to the shepherds out there in the fields, taking care of their sheep and everything, they did not mention a star. The shepherds, who would have been used to the night sky, wouldn't have noticed that star that the wise men are following. Rather, the angels said that they would have the sign of a child wrapped in swaddling clothes, wrapped in burial clothes, if you will, lying in a manger or a feeding trough. And so that wasn't the sign at the manger scene. What was the sign? What was the star? Well, that's back in Matthew chapter 2, verse 2. It says, the wise men came from the east, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. You see, the star was seen from the east. Remember, the wise men probably from Babylon, Persia area, Iraq, Iran type area, about 500 to 1,000 miles away. From the Magi, the wise men noticing this new celestial object in the sky, they noticed it, made this 500 plus mile trek to Jerusalem and told Herod, hey, we seen this sign, we seen his star in the sky, and we've come here to Jerusalem. Where is the child? So Herod sends him to Bethlehem, and then you know the whole story where the wise men go there with gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and then they go ahead and Joseph receives a vision at night, a dream at night to say, nope, go to Egypt, whatever the case is, because Herod, there's my dogs, because Herod's going to kill all the 2-year-olds and under, so they escape that persecution. So those are your 3 common misconceptions during Christmas time. Number 1, when was Jesus born? It most likely wasn't December 25th. It probably was around that middle or late spring time period, depending on whether it was the month of Elul or the month of Sivan. Number two. Number two was the fact of the wise men weren't in the manger, and you probably already knew that one. But them coming from Babylon, Persia area had a long trek. And number three, that star, the star over the manger, most likely wasn't there at that night either, because that was not the sign to the shepherds. That was a sign to the wise men from the Babylon, Persia area, hundreds of miles away, probably about a year plus later as well. So those are your three common misconceptions. If you've heard of any others, please go ahead and drop a line in the comments below. And it's wonderful, trying to get a biblical, literal Christmas story out there from what God said happened, as opposed to us trying to just continue these traditions. Now, while they're not necessarily bad per se, it's not biblical. So I just challenge you to go ahead and be a Berean, do your research, study what the Christmas story looks like for you. Finally, again, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, click the little bell so you get the little notifications on when these videos come up online and you can watch them. Leave me any comments, critiques, concerns. And until next time, I thank you for watching and have a Merry Christmas.